Hello and welcome back to the Smash Archive, the series where we look at every game franchise represented in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. For our next overview of all the smaller series in Smash, we'll be covering the two systems that made up most of Nintendo's library during the 2010s, with the 3DS and the Wii U. Now originally I was planning to make two separate episodes for these two systems, but to get a bit ahead of myself, it turns out that out of all the minor Nintendo-owned series featured in Smash, only two of them originated on the Wii U, which is why I decided to pair the two together to avoid making an episode that's only 5 minutes. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. The StreetPass Mii Plaza is a pre-installed application for the 3DS which stores the data of other 3DS users you would meet via StreetPass, a method of transferring data wirelessly between 3DSs which activates when two systems travel past each other whilst they are both turned on, with the Miis you meet becoming available to be used across various mini-games included in the app, with two free games being made available at launch, one of which would get a sequel as part of a free update, along with an additional 11 games being made available as paid DLC later on. Despite effectively being a glorified minigame compilation, which primarily served as a way to store data of other 3DS users you happen to walk past, there's actually a good amount of content from the StreetPass Mii Plaza. First, we have the stage Find Me, or Street Pass Quest in PAL regions, which is named after the RPG-inspired minigame of the same name, although despite that, it's actually based on the final area of Find Me 2, the Castle of Darkness, taking place on the castle's rooftop with a chained up Prince Mii hanging from above the left side platform, which can be swung side to side and even broken by attacking it. Throughout the fight, players will need to deal with the Dark Emperor, who will fly around in the background and be able to give random fighters either stat boosts or decreases, as well as temporarily remove one of the two main platforms, with it also occasionally coming into the foreground to attack fighters, with anyone who manages to defeat it being rewarded with a stat boost for a limited time. Next is 3 music tracks, with a new medley of various songs from both of the Find Me or Street Pass Quest games, in order featuring Find Me's title theme, Find Me 2's title theme, Fight on Heroes, the second regular battle theme in Find Me, and Save the World Heroes, the second regular battle theme in Find Me 2. Smash 4 remix of Save the World Heroes, which as mentioned earlier is the second regular battle theme in Find Me 2. With the track also including the game's first regular battle theme, Keep Fighting Heroes. And a Smash 4 remix of Dark Lord, the theme used for the final boss fight of Find Me 2 against the Dark Lord. Then we have 9 Mii hats, which are all based on hats you could unlock for your Mii to wear either by beating certain rooms in the Find Me games or by purchasing them with Plaza tickets. With Devil Horns, which you got in Find Me 2's Secret Quest by beating the Castle of Darkness throne room for a 3rd time. Floral Hat, unlocked from Find Me 2's normal quest by beating the Forest of Sorrow exit for the 1st time. Hockey Mask, which was bought with Plaza tickets. Lacy Headband, obtained from Find Me 2's secret quest after beating Dolores Deepwood West for the 1st time. Magic Hat, gotten from Find Me 2's secret quest by beating the Castle of Darkness throne room for a 2nd time. Prince's Crown, the hat worn by the Prince Mii in Find Me 2, which the player can unlock by beating the normal quest for the 1st time. Princess's Crown, the hat worn by the Princess Mii in Find Me 2, which is unlocked by beating the secret quest for the 1st time. Regal Crown, the hat worn by the King Mii in the original Find Me, which can be unlocked by beating the game once, and Top Hat, which is the reward for beating Bewitching Bog East in Find Me 2's normal quest. Finally, there's 7 spirits. Number 1081, Dark Emperor, a 3-slot Legend Primary Shield spirit. The monster who acts as the final boss for Find Me 2's, or StreetPass Quest 2's, Secret Quest, being a harder version of the normal quest's Dark Lord, with its defeat saving the King Mii, along with rewarding the player with the Princess's Crown, the Gold Key, and allowing to call in a Helper Hair, with additional playthroughs also unlocking Waluigi's cap and the Dark Emperor helmet. The spirit art is original to Smash Ultimate. Number 1082, Iris Archwell, a 1-slot advanced primary grab spirit, a young detective who acts as the player's partner in the Monster Manor game, where you're tasked with trying to reach the 30th floor of a mansion by placing down tiles given to you via people you meet on StreetPass, needing to match tiles of the same color to create rooms which contain resources, along with battling ghosts. In Power Regions, the game was renamed to StreetPass Mansion, and Iris is instead called Elementary. Number 1083, Goldbone, a 2-slot advanced primary attack spirit, the leader of the Goldbone gang who serves as the main antagonist and final boss of Mii Force, which is an auto-scrolling space shooter where you're tasked to stop his invasion across the StreetPass galaxy, the Miis you meet on StreetPass giving you various weapons to fight him. In Power Regions, the game is instead called StreetPass Squad. Number 1084, Coraline, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a boomerang. An employee of a fishing club who acts as the guide for the fishing game Ultimate Angler, who takes the player out to various bodies of water you can fish at and helps you find the right bait needed to catch particular fish. In Power Regions, the game is called StreetPass Fishing. Number 1085, Shinobu, a 1-slot novice primary grab spirit, a ninja apprentice who helps the player throughout the game Ninja Launcher, which consists of firing Miis out of a cannon to grab weapons from armament scrolls attached to kites so that they can battle monsters, with Shinobu being the one who fires the cannon. In Power Regions, the game was renamed to StreetPass Ninja. Number 1086, Crispin, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a fire bar, a chef who acts as your guide through Feed Me, a game which consists of gathering ingredients and cooking dishes for heroes that stop by whilst on their quest fighting monsters, with the quality of food served helping boost how much progress the heroes make on saving the day. In Power Regions, the game is called StreetPass Chef, and Crispin was renamed to Jeff. And number 1087, Nico Fire, a 1-slot novice support spirit with the effect Impact Run, the race host of Slot Car Rivals, a slot car racing game where the people the player meets can help create one-time use chips to modify their car, with Nico running the store the races are held in and is the brother of the current slot car champion. In Power Regions, the game is called Street Pass Slot Racing, and Nico Fire was renamed to Nico Flame. Similar to the StreetPass Mii Plaza, AR Games is a minigame collection that came pre-installed on the 3DS, in this case being games that utilise augmented reality by scanning a set of cards that came packaged with the system using the 3DS's camera, creating the illusion of 3D models being present in the real world. The cards including one general question mark block, which is used to play most of the games, and 5 Nintendo character themed cards which can be used in a photo mode. As this is another fairly basic minigame collection, albeit this time being for an effect that wasn't even utilised too much in other 3DS games, there isn't much from AR Games, with the only thing taken being a music track, which is the song used for the various dragon bosses you can fight in some of the minigames. Steel Diver is a submarine simulator which served as one of the 3DS's launch titles in America, the game having been co-developed by Vitae, whose only previous work consists of Theta for the DS and the WiiWare title Rock'n'Roll Climber. Steel Diver has its gameplay split between 3 different game modes, with a main story where you maneuver a sub through side-scrolling levels using sliders and dials on the touchscreen, Periscope Strike where you physically move the 3DS to aim and shoot missiles, and Missile Strike, which is a multiplayer strategy game. Overall, the game got a mixed reception, though it did at least do well enough to get a sequel 3 years later with Steel Diver Sub Wars, which ended up being a free-to-play first-person game which featured an online 4 vs 4 multiplayer mode and 2 single-player missions, with additional missions and subs being locked behind an expanded paid version. While Steel Diver has been mostly forgotten, there's still a decent amount of stuff taken from the series, likely thanks to its position as one of the 3DS's earliest first-party titles. To start off, we have the music track Filled with Hope, which played during missions in Steel Diver Sub Wars that involve taking down submarines. Next is the item Steel Diver, a gun modelled after one of the submarines from the original game, which shoots out missiles that behave similarly to how they do in Steel Diver, starting off slow before rapidly accelerating. In addition, there's Spirit number 1257, Blue Shark, a 2-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a Steel Diver, a submarine from the original Steel Diver which is considered to be the balanced all-arounder out of the 3 vessels you can control, with it also being the sub that the Steel Diver item is modelled after. Freakyforms Your Creations Alive is a platformer which released as a downloadable title for the 3DS eShop, and was made by the company S.T.E.A.M, an independent studio who have made titles such as Dragon Poker and Shape Hero Factory. Freakyforms sees you create creatures called formies out of a variety of shapes, with full control on where each piece goes, before needing to use the touchscreen in order to guide them through various missions. The game would later receive an expanded physical release called Freakyforms Deluxe, which added multiplayer and the ability to explore dungeons, with both the original and deluxe versions of the game receiving fairly mixed reviews. Since this is another fairly forgotten title from the 3DS's early days, Freakyforms is another series which doesn't get much, with it only getting a music track, namely a Smash 4 medley of various songs from the game, which contains the title theme, the dungeon boss battle theme, the regular battle theme, and the dungeon roll call theme. Pushmo, or Pull Blocks in Power Regions, is a puzzle game released exclusively on the 3DS eShop made by Intelligent Systems, the same studio behind the Fire Emblem and Paper Mario series. The game seeing you navigate through obstacle courses of colourful blocks you pull out from the background in order to create platforms that you can use to reach the goal of each level. Pushmo ended up getting an incredibly positive response, becoming popular enough to get 2 sequels on the 3DS, with Crashmo, or Fall Blocks in Power Regions, which had the blocks you pulled out be affected by gravity, and Stretchmo, or Full Blocks in Power Regions, where the blocks could now be pulled and stretched sideways on top of being pulled further out, with there also being a Wii U entry featuring more puzzles in the style of the first game called Pushmo, or Pull Blocks World. Since Pushmo is one of the bigger series to come from the 3DS eShop, there's a little bit more to talk about compared to the last series, even if it's not much more. To begin, we have a music track with Welcome Center, which is used for the tutorial levels of Stretchmo. In addition, there's spirit number 1258, Mallow, a 1-slot ace primary grab spirit with the effect Wait Up. The main protagonist of the Pushmo series, who in the original game is navigating through all the courses to save the children trapped within them, with the spirit arc coming from the second game, Crashmo, where he ends up having to save birds from a new set of courses after accidentally scaring them away. Sakura Samurai Art of the Sword, or Hana Samurai Art of the Sword in Power Regions, is an action game that once again was only released as an eShop title, this time being made by Grounding Inc., a studio who are otherwise mainly known for the Japan-only DSiWare title Nintendoji and Space Channel 5 VR. The game itself consists of putting you into sword combat battles, with it requiring precise timing of attacks in order to actually get anywhere, battling consisting of dodging until your enemy leaves themselves open to get slashed. Sakura Samurai would end up being one of the more critically acclaimed games on the 3DS eShop, though despite that the game never got any kind of sequel or follow-up. Because of that, we don't have much from this game. To start off, we have a music track with a Smash 4 remix of the game's first boss theme, which also contains the stage start jingle and the town theme. On top of that is spirit number 1259, Sakura Samurai, a one-slot advanced primary shield spirit with the effect Weight Down. The main protagonist who goes unnamed throughout the game, and was trained by a Kappa to become the titular Sakura Samurai, his destiny being to save Princess Cherry Blossom from the evil entity who captured her. Swapnote, or Nintendo Letterbox in Power Regions, was a messaging application released for free towards the end of 2011, with it having effectively served as the successor to the original DS's PictoChat, allowing people to send messages to friends via SpotPass or locals through StreetPass, with later updates also allowing you to send pictures and recorded audio. Whilst the application would end up losing its SpotPass functionality in 2013, likely due to an incident in Japan where people were using an exploit to send mature content, the StreetPass functionality was still able to be used, with most of the SpotPass functions being brought back later for its successor, Swapdoodle, which also removed the ability to use photos and audio, but added paid DLC for stationery, tools, and various drawing lessons. As this is a fairly simple drawing application, only a little bit is taken from Swapnote. First, we have the assist trophy, Nikki, the application's host who would go on to become a sort of mascot character for Nintendo during the 3DS era. When summoned, Nikki will teleport to the foreground, where she will then draw pictures which attack opponents. The drawings that can appear being bullet bills, which rocket across the stage and damage fighters on contact, a monster which attacks by breathing fire, ghosts which will chase after and paralyze enemies, birds that fly upwards and launch opponents vertically, spinning pinwheels which push enemies, and a smash ball which functions the same way as the actual smash ball item. Then there's spirit number 1260, Nikki, a one-slot ace support spirit with the effect shield durability up. After her appearance in Swapnote, Nikki would go on to also host Swapdoodle, along with getting a Japan-exclusive quiz game called Nikki's Travel Quiz, and getting a cameo appearance in Art Academy Lessons for Everyone, with the spirit artwork coming from the Nintendo News section of Nintendo's Japanese website, where she would often appear as part of announcements until the discontinuation of the 3DS, where she was replaced by the Switch's mascot character Amelia N. Dillon's Rolling Western is an eShop title for the 3DS made by Vanpool, who in addition to being the studio behind the Tingle spin-offs, have also served as a co-developer for some of the more recent Kirby titles, before they unfortunately shut down in May of 2023. The game itself sees you protecting villages from rock monsters called Groks, either by attacking them directly or by setting up weaponized defense towers, with gameplay being split between attacking the Groks and gathering resources to improve the village's defenses. Whilst the game got fairly mixed reviews, it did prove popular enough to receive 2 sequels, with Dillon's Rolling Western The Last Ranger and Dillon's Dead Heat Breakers, with Breakers actually managing to get a physical release unlike the first 2 games. As this is one of the more recognizable franchises to come from the 3DS eShop, there's actually a pretty good amount of content taken from Rolling Western. To begin, we have 2 music tracks, with the daytime theme from The Last Ranger, Frontier Battle, the overworld theme during a Grok invasion in Dillon's Dead Heat Breakers. Is the assist trophy, Dillon, the main protagonist of the series who is an anthropomorphic armadillo that works as a ranger, with its design in Smash being based on his appearance in Dead Heat Breakers. When summoned, Dillon will chase opponents with his rolling attack, charging in place before barreling towards enemies, with the final time he does the attack being substantially more powerful than previous hits. Finally, there's 2 spirits, both of whom have their artwork taken from Dillon's Dead Heat Breakers. Number 1262, Dillon, a 2-slot ace primary attack spirit with the effect Speed Up. Not much of Dillon's past is known, with him becoming a ranger in order to gather enough money to pay off his childhood home. And number 1263, Russ, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a rocket belt. Dillon's squirrel friend who works alongside him by flying overhead in his heli bike to alert Dillon when the Groks start a raid. HarmoKnight is a rhythm platformer which released for the 3DS eShop and was made by Game Freak, the same studio responsible for the Pokemon series, with the game consisting of auto-scrolling levels where the player can only jump or attack, the goal of each stage being to collect as many music notes as possible, which can be picked up within the level or earned by hitting enemies and percussion plants, each stage having an original song, with there also being a few bonus levels featuring music from Pokemon. HarmoKnight would end up getting fairly positive reviews, though much like a lot of Game Freak's non-Pokemon games, it's become fairly forgotten over time, which is likely why this is another series that doesn't get much, with the only thing taken being spirit number 1272, Tempo, a 2-slot novice primary neutral spirit. The game's main protagonist who was sent to Symphony City by his master Woodwin in order to find someone with the potential to be the next HarmoKnight, but when he arrives, the princess has been kidnapped by Gargan and its inhabitants are put into a slumber, leaving Tempo no choice but to step up alongside some companions he meets along the way in order to save her. Nintendo Land is a party game that served as both a launch title and the original packing game for the Wii U. The game being set in an amusement park where you can play 12 mini-games that are themed after various Nintendo franchises, with all of them being designed to show what kind of games could be made using the Wii U gamepad, with it specifically featuring 3 co-op games based on Zelda, Metroid, and Pikmin, 3 versus games based on Mario, Luigi's Mansion, and Animal Crossing, plus 6 single-player games based on Donkey Kong, Yoshi, F-Zero, Game & Watch, Balloon Fight, and the mysterious Murasame Castle. The game ended up being received fairly well, with its position as the Wii U's original pack-in title, helping it become the system's 5th best-selling game at 5.21 million copies, with it often being considered the Wii U's equivalent to Wii Sports. Because of that, there's a decent amount of stuff from Nintendo Land. To begin, we have 2 music tracks, with the game's main theme, which plays in the Central Park, and a Smash 4 medley, which features the main theme, Manita's theme, and the Tower minigame theme. In addition, there's spirit number 1089, Manita, a 2-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Screen Flip immunity, a robot who serves as the game's guide, introducing the player to the main hub, along with explaining the rules and controls for each of the mini-games. Darumeshi Sports Store is a free-to-play 3DS game where you can buy various baseball-themed mini-games with real money from a shop run by the titular Darumeshi, with the goal being to unlock prizes from playing the mini-games, which you can then trade to Darumeshi in order to haggle down the prices for other games, with the prizes you hand over helping Darumeshi fix his home life problems. Whilst the game never released in PAL regions, it did come over to America, albeit with Darumeshi being redesigned and renamed to Rusty, along with the game being retitled to Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. Though outside of these aesthetic differences, it plays exactly the same. As this is one of the more obscure 3DS eShop titles, not a lot was taken from either game, with them both just getting 1 spirit each. Those spirits being number 1275, Inuji Darumeshi, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a beast ball, the host of Darumeshi's Sports Store, who is a middle-aged cartoon dog running a failing sports store who's had to turn to trying to sell baseball video games just to make money. And number 1276, Rusty Slugger, a 1-slot novice support spirit which lets you start the battle with a beast ball, the host of Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, who is effectively the westernized version of Inuji Darumeshi, serving the same purpose and having a similar backstory to his Japanese counterpart. NES Remix is a game that released for the Wii U eShop, which sees you play a series of bite-sized challenges based on various NES games, usually requiring you to complete some kind of general objective, along with special missions that add in various gimmicks, sometimes even mashing up some of the games for unique challenges. NES Remix reviewed fairly well, receiving a sequel which was more or less the same thing but with different NES games, with both it and the original game being bundled together as a physical release 3DS under the title NES Remix Pack, along with a compilation for the 3DS called Ultimate NES Remix, which featured select games and missions from both of the Wii U titles. Despite arguably being one of the bigger names of the Wii U's eShop, not much was taken from NES Remix, likely due to the series' heavy dependence on pre-existing NES games, with the only thing taken being a music track with NES Remix 2's title theme. Nintendo Badge Arcade is a free 3DS application which allows you to play various types of prize-catching games in order to win badges themed to various Nintendo series, which can then be used to decorate the 3DS's home menu, the game giving you 5 free plays before it starts charging money for any additional plays, with the app having received updates for new badges up until mid-2017. Despite being a fairly simple free-to-play game for unlocking menu decorations, there's actually a good amount of content from Nintendo Badge Arcade. To start, we have 2 music tracks, with the title screen music the Arcade Bunny's theme. Next is the assist trophy Arcade Bunny, the cartoon rabbit who serves as the game's host, who when summoned will cause the claw from the game's basic claw machines to appear, which will make 3 attempts to grab opponents and drag them off screen. Then there's a Mii hat, which is modeled after the Arcade Bunny, and then finally there's spirit number 1277 Arcade Bunny, a 1-slot advanced support spirit with the effect Strong Throw. As mentioned before, this guy serves as the game's guide, informing the player of how to play, about the daily updates, and offering additional plays via microtransactions. BoxBoy is a series of puzzle platformers made by HAL Laboratory, the same company responsible for the Kirby series and the first 2 Super Smash Bros. Games. The original game being a smaller project that was made during the development of both Kirby Triple Deluxe and Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. The game seeing you complete various puzzle challenges by creating block platforms out of your character's body. The series is fairly popular, seeing 3 games on the 3DS with BoxBoy, BoxBoy, and Bye Bye BoxBoy, all of which would see a physical release as part of a Japan-exclusive compilation pack, along with a 4th game on the Switch with BoxBoy plus BoxGirl, with it arguably standing as HAL's most popular franchise after the previously mentioned Kirby and Smash Bros. Despite that popularity, BoxBoy is another series that only gets a spirit, in this case being spirit number 1278 QB, a 3-slot ace support spirit which lets you start the battle with an ore club. The main protagonist of the BoxBoy series, who outside of his ability to create blocks, is only able to walk, swim, and jump short distances. Due to BoxBoy's decently strong popularity, QB has become a sort of secondary mascot to HAL, with both him and Kirby having cameos in each other's games. Codenamed S.T.E.A.M is a strategy RPG made by Intelligent Systems, the game taking place on an alternate steampunk-based version of Earth in 1865, where a strike force called S.T.E.A.M are tasked to save the Earth from an alien invasion, with nearly every character in the game being based on either real historical figures or characters from American literature, the gameplay being very similar to Fire Emblem, where the player and computer take turns moving units around a board, with units being able to attack each other when in range, with the main difference being that both movement and aiming is done from a third-person perspective, and the amount of times a unit can attack and move is dependent on the amount of steam they have, both actions depleting the steam meter. Whilst the game does have a few fans, it overall got average reviews, and it's been rumoured to have been a commercial flop. The exact sales figures are hard to find. Because of that, there's not much from Codename S.T.E.A.M. First, we have a new remix of Trouble Brewing 2, one of the game's player phase battle themes. With the track also containing the credits theme Agents of S.T.E.A.M. In addition, there's spirit number 1279, Henry Fleming, a one-slot novice support spirit with the effect Fire and Explosion Attack Up, the game's main protagonist who works as the head of security for the US Embassy in London, with him getting caught up in the alien invasion of London at the start of the game, where he ends up meeting with his old war buddy John Henry and receives the Eagle Rifle, which becomes his primary weapon throughout the game. Miitopia is a turn-based RPG which had the unique gimmick of every single character in the game being portrayed via Miis, from the party members to major story characters to even the generic background NPCs being auto-filled using SpotPass, with it seeing your Mii explore the world of Miitopia to defeat the Dark Lord, who's been stealing people's faces to create monsters. Whilst the gameplay is fairly simplistic, with the player only controlling what their Mii does whilst the party members all automatically attack, the game did build a decent following thanks to its more comedic writing, which can be further strengthened by effectively allowing you to put whoever you want in every major role, with it often being viewed as an RPG spin of the Tomodachi series. Miitopia would later end up receiving a Switch port by Grezzo, who are mainly known for their work on the Zelda series, with the 3DS remakes of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and the Switch remake of Link's Awakening, with Miitopia's Switch port allowing for further customization with makeup and wigs, the party now having a fifth member with a horse, along with the ability to directly download Miis created by other players. Despite the game's decent popularity, this is another series which didn't get much content, likely due to the game's heavy reliance on custom characters, with the only things taken being 2 music tracks, with the regular boss theme and the theme used for the final boss fight against the Darkest Lord. Tank Troopers is a multiplayer game which only released on the 3DS eShop and was co-developed by Vitae, the same studio who also co-developed the Steel Diver games. With Tank Troopers seeing you control various customizable tanks in either free-for-all or team battles, along with it featuring a mission-based single-player mode. The game got average reviews, mainly criticizing the odd choice to have no online play and the general odd timing of the game's release date, as the multiplayer heavy 3DS exclusive released just a few weeks before the launch of the Switch, immensely impacting how many people would actually be playing the game. Due to that fact, this is another series which only gets a music track, this time being the theme for the garage where you can customize your tank. Oasis is an action RPG made by Grezzo, this being one of their more recognisable titles which isn't a remake or remaster. The game seeing you explore a vast desert in order to help build up an oasis by gathering materials from dungeons and caves, along the way having to battle monsters possessed by chaos. It overall managed to get pretty good reviews, and whilst no definitive sales figures are known, it seems to have done alright for a relatively small 3DS title which released after the Switch had already come out. Due to that positive reception and it being one of the last Nintendo published 3DS exclusives, there's actually a good amount of content from Ever Oasis. To begin, we have two music tracks, with Dawn in the Desert, the daytime theme for Cardoons, Kaidong Trail and Bahar Hill, and Struggle Against Chaos, the second regular battle theme. Then there's Two Spirits. Number 1280, Tethu, a one-slot advanced primary attack spirit, a seedling child of the Great Tree and the game's main protagonist, whose home was destroyed and brother was captured by Chaos, with him setting out to create his own oasis and wipe out Chaos for good. The player is actually given the option to customize the main character at the start of the game, with Tethu being the default or canonical name for the male protag, whilst the female one is called Tethi. And number 1281, Esna, a 2-slot Ace support spirit with the effect Lava Floor Immunity, the last of the water spirits who works alongside Tethu to build the new Oasis, though due to her being a water spirit, she can't physically leave her spring, and the only people who can actually see her are children of the Great Tree like Tethu, with her communicating with him outside of her spring via a drop of water filled with her power carried by a desert beetle. Sushi Striker: The Way of Sushido is an action puzzle game made by Indie Zero, who are mainly known for the Theat Rhythm series and Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, with it simultaneously releasing on both the 3DS and the Switch, likely due to it coming out in June of 2018, over a year after the Switch released. The game seeing you battle opponents by gathering plates of sushi off of a conveyor belt, with the damage you deal being based on how many plates of a matching color you're able to collect in one go. Overall, the game got fairly positive reviews, but its sales figures aren't known, though it's reported to have not done well, likely due to a mix of the Switch version not getting much marketing and the 3DS version not really helping much, as the system had long lost its active user base by this point. Likely due to that, along with how close the release date was for both this game and Smash Ultimate, the only thing taken was a spirit, namely spirit number 1282, Musashi, a 2-slot novice primary grab spirit. The game's main protagonist, with the Smash spirit specifically using the character's male design, who joined the Sushi Liberation Front in order to fight the oppressive empire that rules over the world, partnering up with a sprite to become a Sushi Striker. And that's everything from the 3DS and Wii U. For the overall rankings of representation, AR Games, Freakyforms, HarmoKnight, Darumeshi Sports Store, Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, NES Remix, BoxBoy, Tank Troopers, and Sushi Striker are tied 153rd with 59 other series. Pushmo, Sakura Samurai, Codename S.T.E.A.M, and Miitopia are tied 109th with 39 other series. Steel Diver and Nintendo Land are tied 88th with 19 other series. Ever Oasis is tied 73rd with 14 other series. Dillon's Rolling Western and Nintendo Badge Arcade are tied 62nd with Art Academy, Art of Fighting, Brain Age, Famicom Mukashibinashi, Metal Slug, No More Heroes, Panel Upon, Shantae, and the Robot series. And the StreetPass Mii Plaza is 37th, ranking above Game & Watch but below Punch-Out and Banjo-Kazooie, with it also standing as the second most represented series without a playable character, only being outdone by the King of Fighters. Based on the poll results, the next episode will be an overview of all the franchises in Smash which are owned by Konami, with the one afterwards focusing on Splatoon, ARMS, and all the minor series on the Switch, followed by an overview of all the Microsoft-owned series. Until then, feel free to subscribe to the channel to keep up with what's going on, and thanks for watching.